All right, we have some breaking news coming in. Fighter jet has crashed in Rajal Desar area of Ratangarh. Information of fighter jet crash in Bhanunda village. My colleague, Kartike Sharma joins me over the phone line with more details on the same. Kartike, over to you. What more details do we have about this unfortunate incident? They're coming to light.
The Air Force fighter jet has crashed in Churu district of Rajasthan. Now, one will have to wait and see what type of a plane was it. Was it on some sort of a trainee sortie? Was this a regular routine flight? Because when we say an IAF plane crashes, it has to be part of a training exercise, one. Secondly, there are a number of IAF bases in Rajasthan. Third, there is no clarity whether it's a Sukhoi, whether it's a Rafale, whether it's a MiG. So there is no clarity on the nature of the aircraft that has gone down. We have come to know that the pilot's body has been seen. So I really don't want to get into it in terms till there's a clarification on part of the Indian Air Force as to whether the pilot has survived or not. But it's very, very sad that the crash rates have not, we have not been able to take into account the fact that the crashes continue to happen. And Indian Air Force continues to be plagued by crashes. There's a larger story here, and we must be able to understand that when a plane goes down, it's just not about error of the pilot, or it's not only about the error of the machine. It also affects the larger morale, because for example, how many planes do you see in France or United States of America or any other country to go down like this? So that is one issue that we have not been able to comprehensively tackle. But there will have to be an inquiry into it, and obviously the pilot has crashed in an area where there are not many people around. So obviously he must have steered the plane out of a residential area, because India is a very heavily populated country. So going by the visuals which we see on the screen, I think the pilot ensured that the flight is actually steered out of those areas where people could have been collateral, because if you recall, number of times the planes have actually fallen in residential areas. So the fighter pilots also they take care of the situation to drive away, or to ensure that the contact of the plane and the ground does not take place in areas. And for this IAF plane to go down is obviously something, there will be an inquiry. But yes, we are actually waiting for the clarity that which plane has gone down, what is the make of the plane, where did it take off from. You are right, this is the Ratangarh sector, and it's near the Bhanunda village, and we have also been given to believe that two people on the ground got hurt, but not very severely. But then why did it happen? Was it a double engine jet? Was it a double engine sort of a double men flight? Two pilot flight, for example, in Sukhois, two people can be seated. Neha, when you do training, there is always a trainer. So was it a single solo flight or a double pilot flight? That is not known. So yes, these are the issues. One will have to wait and see. But again, the point which I really want to make is that the jet crashes in India is something which is a cause of concern, because you see, jet crashes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. On that note, I'd quickly like to ask you this. We've seen a spate of such crashes in the past few years. Would you say this is a part of a worrying trend, or is it too early to comment?
I would say it's too early. It is too early to comment, but I would say that the jet crashes in India, especially IAF jet crashes, they have been having regularly. I have to admit that. It's not as if the crashes are not taking place. IAF crashes continue to take place. Okay, suppose you asked me a very specific question. I can tell you that Indian Air Force has lost 152 pilots and 534 aircrafts in last 30 years. If that's the question, Neha, you are asking me, that's the answer I'm giving you. Indian Air Force has lost 152 Air Force pilots, 534 aircrafts in last 30 years. If you're saying that, well, this is much, I would say every loss is a loss. Every loss is a loss, but yes, I would say we have lost 152 pilots in last 32 years, and that these are not the combat. These are not the combat. So I think someone needs to sit back and take a hard look at it, because we also dealt with MiG-21. We also dealt with MiG-21, which their whole phasing out was late. So obviously these issues concerned us, and decades of delay due to production issues. IAF now has the initial lot of Tejas. Last year IAF signed a rupees 48,000 crore deal with 83 Tejas Mk1 deliveries. But even then, today there are 4 squadrons of upgraded MiG-21 Bison, one of which will be phased out later this year. The rest will be phased out by 2025. So Indian Air Force does have an issue of new jets, purchase issue, and these needs to be dealt. This needs to be sorted out.
And Kartikeya, you've also tracked many such crashes in the past. Does this seem like a technical failure or something more serious?
No, I don't know whether it's a technical failure, human error, that I cannot vouch for. But let me share some perspective with you, since you asked me a question. Like, for example, the data which is available for us. For example, in between 2003 to 4, there were crashes, and accident analysis is something which the Indian Air Force can do. But the losses also tell us one thing, that Indian Air Force has consistently lost both pilots and planes. If you divide 152 by 30, the data is very, very clear. And if you divide 534 aircraft with 30, the data is again extremely clear, that there is a loss of machinery, there is a loss of human lives. And pilots, the combat pilots, it's the toughest part of the Indian Air Force. Difficult to train, tough to spot talent. They're highly talented people. Those who are part of the combat are the fittest people, in context of their health, in context of what is required. There has to be a heightened fitness, I would say, ability which is required you to be part of these platforms. And then today you are dealing with 4th and 5th generation of military aircraft. This fly the speed of Mach 2, Mach 3, and so it's a different ball game. We are dealing with a different world. So right now, which plane has gone down is something very important. And we have been given to believe that the pilot has not survived. So the pilot has not survived, Neha. So that's the one bad news I can confirm to you. The pilot has not survived. So, but then, well, that's about it. This has happened in Churu. And as I said, the data says 152 pilots, 534 aircraft in last 30 years is something which military experts should ponder. And why is this happening? I can't sit here and cast doubt. But then the Indian Air Force needs more pilots. Indian Air Force require modern aircraft, more aircraft. We are short of squadrons. It is something which all our Air Force chiefs have been consistently saying. The Indian government has made an effort. It has done off-the-rack purchase of Rafale. It's past 10 years, a great effort has made by the Prime Minister Modi to beef up the 4th generation and even better combat aircraft. But it's a tough job. It's a limited industry. It's a closed industry, and at the end of it, I can say it's tragic for us to lose a pilot and a plane. That's all I can say, Neha.
Absolutely, Kartikeya. Continue to, in fact, stay with us. I'm also joined by Captain Akshay Chopra, aviation expert and former pilot. Captain Chopra, thank you for joining us. You know, we're hearing reports of an IAF fighter jet crash in Churu, Rajasthan. What, in fact, has been confirmed to us just now is that the pilot has tragically lost his life. Sir, do tell us, what challenges do pilots really face when trying to eject in emergencies like this?
All right, so these crashes have been quite common since last 2 decades plus, and of course, one of the reasons is that we severely lack squadron strength. We are still flying very old aircrafts, something like MiG-21s, which are like second or third generation aircrafts. So one of the when such a problem happens, look, generally the pilots are well trained and well equipped to handle such emergencies, and it can happen with the best of the aircraft. The latest fifth generation aircraft can also encounter such problems. We have seen that in case of F-35s in US. However, there is the chance of pilot losing his life, or what we call in Air Force as the aircraft going fatal, is very less in case of the latest aircrafts. This problem, increases more when the aircraft is of older generation, and there's a problem with the ejection. Or maybe when the pilot is undergoing a particular type of an exercise, he's flying close to the earth, or what we call as nape of earth. He's doing some maneuvers. Therein, the pilot somehow loses the control of the aircraft, and the time for ejection reduces, or the height is not appropriate for ejection. So that is the major challenge which the pilot faces actually.
Right. Sir, do also tell us, Captain Chopra, do also tell us, what more really can be done, either by the government or the IAF, to bring down the number of such incidents. Like you said, they've been happening quite frequently.
So look, we have been from the time I got commissioned in the Air Force to the time I retired, we have been literally shouting on top of our lungs to please upgrade the squadron strength. We are severely lacking. Currently, we are close to 31 squadrons, and the sanction strength is 42 squadrons. And in the current scenario, which is now a three-front war for India, with adding Bangladesh and other areas coming in, it's even more squadrons what we need. But even with the 31 squadrons we have currently, most of them are older aircrafts. We have a large fleet of MiG-21s, Jaguars, Mirage is almost in its end of life, MiG-29s. All these aircrafts have to be phased out, and especially MiG-21s and Jaguars have to be phased out immediately. We have been shouting that Tejas is coming, Tejas is coming. Yes, whatever Tejas Mark 1A has become, it's a good aircraft now. However, at the speed which they're inducting it, it is very slow. Even if you induct Tejas Mark 1A at the rate of one aircraft a month, that's quite slow pace. And that's why the 114 aircraft deal which we have been listing from the last 2 decades plus hasn't gone through. We are now with Pakistan getting J-35s, though the news is still not confirmed. But with China's increasing J-35s and J-20s, we really need a fifth generation aircraft. We cannot wait for our fifth generation aircraft, that is AMCA, to come in 2035, 10 years from now. By the time Chinese will be ready with the sixth generation aircraft and get good hands-on practice on their already current fifth generation aircraft. So we really need to ramp up the speed at which the new aircrafts need to be inducted and the old ones have to be phased out. Otherwise, pilots are always at risk, and that's why the name flying coffin was given to MiG-21s. Ultimately, when who's losing, a country is losing a son, a mother is losing a son, a sister is losing a brother, and it's high time that the government really needs to speed up the process of procurement. 26 Rafales or 26 Marine Rafales and Rafales in Air Force aren't, enough to fulfill that gap now.
And Captain, do also tell us, given that this crash happened near a village, how vulnerable are civilians to such incidents?
So let me tell you some good things about the pilots of the Air Force. In case such a problem happens and the pilot knows that he's losing the control of the aircraft, and whether he's able to eject or not, that's the second thing. But the first thing he does is that he takes the aircraft away from the populated area, and he makes sure that even if there's a crash and the aircraft goes down, it will go down in an open field, which minimizes the damage. And in such areas like Churu and all, the populated sectors are very small ones. So generally, pilots and especially fighters don't fly close to those areas because it's quite disturbing sometimes when you're doing maneuvers. The sound is very large, so we are as such prohibited to fly close to the villages and all. So in most cases, you will find in such such accidents that the aircraft has landed in open fields and open areas.